very interesting to see what CNBC says is the reason why, stocks didn't do much today, but the fear and volatility or some events came back. So this is going to be an important recap for you guys if you do not know what went on today. There was a lot in terms of both movement of the stock, news, and at least CNBC got it right. Earnings. It is very important. We're setting up for that. We have a bunch of big names tomorrow morning. This is the largest earnings week that we're going to have. I think about 32% of companies are reporting, and then next week is just slightly smaller, and then it starts to decrease from there, you guys. So stay up to date with it. If not, we have these recaps for you, and also the watch list tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific. So there is a lot we needed to talk about, and I said the fear and volatility is coming back because we had specific earnings moves that I'm going to show you. However, the two pieces of news that came out today that really did have an effect on the market, there was a few things to observe. One, volume was like 30 or 40% lower than the daily average. It was very low. And then we also gapped down today. We gapped down and then went straight up and then kind of kept into this mid-range volatility. No moves at power hour. And even though there was a decent amount of companies that reported in the morning and whatnot, but nothing too crazy. But tomorrow's when it gets really serious. So we're going to see. And that's why you're seeing, the markets people are anticipating that could explain the volume we have here. And then specific companies and sectors. It was, Russell ended up small caps. They were down a lot today. They ended up coming up a little bit, but we still closed negative on those and the Dow. S&P barely broke. And tech was leaded up by some of the post earnings. We saw what happened with Netflix. That was awesome. But there's that. But the two things I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to go in very, very deep depth because these two events could both, I think they're creeping in volatility and we see it in the stocks. It has to do with healthcare and what we discussed with the healthcare and Bernie Sanders and free Medicare for all, but you don't have to worry about Bernie anymore. Well, you still do, but there's a town hall meeting tonight. So all of these presidential candidates, all of these people running, they're going to be speaking tonight, and they're getting interviewed. I think it's at Harvard, but there's a crowd of 500 young people. They're going to say a lot of stuff to appeal to young people. Free, 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 free. So keep your eyes out for that and what that's going to do. But that is going to be very, very important, and that's one of the effects. Oh, my gosh, I totally forgot, you guys. Drop a thumbs up on the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel, but thumbs up for sure. And we're trading live. Shout out the chat. We're live 30 minutes before open. It is in the comments below. It's in the description and that, but we're going to go over this too. But that's what I'm saying. I'm going to look to play this tomorrow. But as we were watching today, this is why I'm bringing this up because one, this is going to have an effect and we'll see how it plays out tomorrow. However, or what gets said tonight and then what stocks it affects tomorrow. But the big key within a lot of this is noticing what healthcare stocks did today. UNH was up. It came down. And even when it was coming down, it was still up. It gapped up and it kept going. It held up, which is this one-day trend is a lot different than you see than the 10-day trend. And I made a video on these a few days ago. You guys should go back and check it. My thesis with this. And again, last time biotech suffered this, it saw some more volatility even in the overall market. It was in December 8th. So last time we saw anything with biotechs and healthcare getting debated in politics. That's why these are important. But you see UNH, but now here's Cigna. Cigna went down. Oh, wait, that's the weekly. Cigna now went down. It didn't do as much, but you'll start going through these. We played Guild, and again, not again, but we dropped the stream alerts too. So if you can't be on the stream, you could get a text, anything happens. I made a trade. I sent a text out, not the exact trade, but we said we made a trade. Someone came on, they're like, wait, what trade did you make? And we played the Guild. If you were watching, you saw, but they dropped a lot too. Again, you pull up their chart, it's not as bouncy anymore. And then you could pull up Allergen. It's kind of lower and lower. But what you're going to start to see, you could go through a lot of healthcare stocks, medical suppliers, and this was all today. And this is why it's important for today here in the stock market and what it's telling us about this week, because there's divergence or there's truly volatility. You have some things hitting highs in the healthcare, some things hitting lows, some things are selling off more than others. So watch that because it's kind of showing uncertainty. So we'll see how the market responds to anything that's said. If it's importance, the weight it gains, what the media does. And again, it could even be something where if nothing really bad comes out of this, watch for these stocks to bounce. Again, just like Boeing. Think Boeing, when in any of these stocks, when they hit external situations, the first impact is always bad, but then after it, that is where they start to really make the move. So that was that part of the market today. And again, those had their unique events besides, again, the small caps and all that. But that's the piece I think is creeping in, and it had an effect on the markets. Watch how the health stocks move and how it bears effect on the markets even throughout the day. That's what we're watching on stream. But now even to another level, the other news that came out that's very important, the sanctions on Iran. So this happened in November. And what they did, they put sanctions on Iran, Iran nuclear deal. There's so many issues we have with Iran. But the point is, they're putting these sanctions. We saw what that did with Russia, too. And again, that could even have implications on price. That's why today oil it truly did skyrocket. A lot of oil companies did good. We did see Halliburton report, but it doesn't look too crazy. But oil was up. It didn't, I guess skyrocket is a little dramatic, but I think it potentially can with what happened here, or we're going to see either up or down, because with sanctions with Russia had a negative effect in the past, but if we're seeing what's happening here with oil, we'll see. But essentially, they put these sanctions on Iran in November, and you can't buy oil from them. Now, there was these 6 of the top countries. Which ones were they? It was China, India, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Turkey, Italy, and Greece. So is that 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 countries. So I think 6 more, or 6, a few applied for a request. But essentially, those guys bought so much oil from Iran, they said, okay, we'll give you a 6-month extension to find a new trading partner. And even Trump tweeted today, and again, we had Halliburton earnings, but Trump even said that our partners at the UAE will take care of them. And so think about it. I think they're trying to push people, but here's the issue right now, exactly what happened today. So those 8 buyers, they have extensions 6 months because they didn't want to disturb the oil market by saying, okay, you can't buy from them. And 3 of the countries have stopped. I believe it says Greece, Italy, and Taiwan. But the other 5 have all asked for extensions on that waiver to continue. And now today the news was that Trump said no to any of the extensions. So by the U.S. showing the non-willingness, it's adding that pressure again. And you see it's going to have an effect on oil and pushing. It could either push all the demand towards, the cartel, OPEC, U.S., UAE, all that, or it could have a bad effect like it did even with but again, Iran's currency and their role globally. Russia was more integrated. So that's why we're seeing it could affect oil positively than not. But anytime these situations develop, this could start to add to it. So there was that. And I also forgot, I was talking healthcare and that. And then finally, the last piece, and this is related now to trade and oil, kind of. Well, again, now, because with all of this that's happening, you have the 5 countries, you still have China, India, Japan, South Korea, and Turkey that need oil still. And this could create pretty much, if they don't do it, or if they continue to do it, then that would lead to sanctions on all of those countries if we do. That's pretty much the intended response. So if they don't find a new buyer, they're going to start getting penalties by the U.S. So that has, it has trade implications, and it's not really that good. So there's that factor. But now this leads into China, because this adds now some more trade pressures on China that's not related to the deal, which is not good. But now going to China China stocks slipped overnight. They did not do good. They dropped almost 2%. And there was a Politburo, a head Chinese person in politics they were discussing. And, or someone in, you get the idea. Google it. But somebody there said it pretty much, they're taking it as an official kind of hints that they're going to slow down on the easing. So if you watched my videos about a month or 2 ago, I believe is when they started, I said it's their version of QE. Every time they've been cutting the bank, the rate reserve requirements, the rate, all this stuff, and holding the currency and all that. But they said they're pretty much hinting that they're going to stop the stimulus and kind of let the market do its thing. They said they're not going to press on the brake pedal, to not cause, a double dip and add to some of the weakening pressure. But it was some kind of downside economic guidance, and they're saying they're going to pull back here and let the markets kind of flush out and do their thing a little. So we see how people responded. Chinese stocks went down today in the U.S., but then they bounced pretty much right back up, and a lot of stuff with the effect. And that is the trippiest part about today. it gapped down, but it looks like it went straight up, and there was a lot of velocity. It was a lot of excitement because you were getting big moves. For the SPY not moving to, every single stock on here that I'm pulling up has had it, except for Halliburton, has had a large move. But the ones we were looking at, Netflix, you're talking 4.5%, 2.5% on United Health, 2.6 even on Qualcomm. You got everything really moving. I think Amazon made some nutty moves too. So even though the index didn't move, that's where you're seeing the earnings effect come in. So tomorrow, watch for the earnings. Make sure you guys are there for the watch list. I'm going to cover a lot, and you guys, you don't have to look at you do look at your earnings, but we're going to make sure you guys have it here so you guys be able to be aware. But I'm going to be expecting, tomorrow we're going to see how the earnings move the market. I wouldn't be surprised to see, again, and this is what we saw after Monday last week. If you really kind of compare it, where was it? Monday we gapped up and went down. We gapped down and went up, and the market gapped up and came down. Gap up, come down. That was positive earnings, positive, and then selling off. But again, this week was still preparing for this week. So we might not see the sell-offs as much, but I would expect even some sort of gap up or down move in a reverse direction. But that is going to be dependent on the earnings. And the story so far, I said it, we've gotten data so far from a lot of companies, but what we're watching for tomorrow is the guidance situation. Is it going to be the same thing? These gap ups and sell-offs are just a result of good numbers. They weren't as bad as people expected, but what's killing everybody is the guidance. So where we're going to be at the rest of the year, the future, all that. So keep your guys' eyes out for that. That is pretty much it. Show some love. Drop your like, subscribe. And if I missed anything, put it below. And I want to know what you guys think. Do you think the Democrat haul will have an effect all these elections? What do you think about the healthcare stocks? What do you think about oil? How many of you are in there? I know we got a lot of oil guys. So do that. I think that's it. Just subscribe and check out the stream alerts. I love y'all. I'll see you tonight.